Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. We're talking about WWE Survivor Series 2019, which is the next show on the schedule for WWE. WWE is making changes to Survivor Series this year for the last 3 years since the brand split of 2016. Survivor Series has always been booked as Raw versus SmackDown. And it's been one of my favorite shows of the year. I can honestly say that I was a fan of bragging rights. I was a fan of Raw versus SmackDown anytime that they've brought it out. But Survivor Series, for the past few years, has been one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year. It's a very easy concept. You have the Raw champion versus the SmackDown champion. You put the Raw tag team champions against the SmackDown tag team champions. And it all came down to just bragging rights. I think last year they started putting the little counter on the screen, counting the wins to see who won more matches. There was no bragging rights cup like there was back in the day, but it just was for that brand for one night to say that they were better than the other brand. Last year's hype for Survivor Series was so good that it honestly got me to the point where I thought I wanted to go to WrestleMania for like 2 weeks. I think tickets had already gone on sale. The packages had already sold out. But I was going to find some way to go there. And then Survivor Series happened. The bell rang. And I didn't really want to go anymore. But this year, to sort of spice things up, they are going to be adding NXT to the affair. I can honestly say that, on paper, it does sound like a good idea. But to bring NXT to the table as the third brand, you sort of have to have NXT on the same playing field as Raw and SmackDown. I think it's pretty cool that Finn Balor jumped from Monday Night Raw to NXT, and now he's trying to be the most talked about person that there was in wrestling, having sort of like a shoot-style promo, talking about the fact that WWE asked him to lay down for Bray Wyatt before he went on his hiatus. Basically sort of a heel turn that we've never seen in WWE or NXT before from Finn Balor. Something dated back to him wrestling for New Japan, being a member of the Bullet Club, and it does spark some attention. But even though NXT does have some name value and maybe they'll be able to steal a match here or there along the way, if you put together this dream match that people are talking about, Bray Wyatt versus Brock Lesnar versus Adam Cole, do you even put Adam Cole on the same playing field as Bray Wyatt? There's no way I believe that Vince McMahon is going to do it. Roderick Strong is one hell of a wrestler, but if you sort of put, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, your United States and Intercontinental Champion in there, with Roderick Strong in some sort of a three-way, do you see that possible? I really honestly don't. I hope that they honestly find a way to highlight NXT. But I think if you put NXT on the same playing field of Raw and SmackDown, it's going to be a lot like when ECW was a brand in like 2005, 2006. And they tried to make that show matter by the one thing that I remember more than anything else, Undertaker wins the Royal Rumble. He comes out, I believe, on Monday Night Raw to sort of select who he wants to go after at WrestleMania. So they bring out Batista, the World Heavyweight Champion. John Cena, the WWE Champion. They bring out Bobby Lashley, the ECW Champion. Like there's any way in the world that he's going to pick to go compete on Tuesday nights on ECW, on Sci-Fi, after he beats Bobby Lashley for the championship at WrestleMania. Undertaker gave him a stare down, maybe gave him a little bit of a rub there, but I'm hoping maybe they find a way to put NXT in some singles matches. But to me, the match that I loved more than anything else was sort of the singles match. I know that you're going to have matches like Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar, Finn Balor versus Brock Lesnar. Those are two big matches that I really cared about. They were sort of dream matches that I never thought I was going to get a chance to see in WWE. Remember at one point, we thought we were going to get Jinder Mahal versus Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series, but lucky for us, AJ Styles spiced that up. And don't forget, 2 years in a row, the last SmackDown before Survivor Series, we've had title changes. Let's see if WWE keeps that up. But, basically, is there a way to really put 3 teams in the ring for a 15-man traditional tag team match? 3 teams of 5 in a Survivor Series elimination match. I don't think there is, because what if Raw never tags NXT? What if NXT never gets a chance to get into the ring? Because you got to think, you got to be in the match. Well, no, if you don't ever get tagged in, you're better off, because you got 5 guys standing there after the other 2 guys beat the holy hell out of each other. So the match makes no sense, honestly, now, once I actually think about it just a little bit. So maybe they'll spice it up. Maybe it won't be Raw versus SmackDown anymore. Maybe they'll just have, 2 captains, and, there'll be, 2 SmackDown guys, 2 Raw guys, and an NXT guy on there. Much like Survivor Series was, like Team DX, where it was Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, and CM Punk. Possibly one of the best Survivor Series teams of all time, of that era. But, I don't know, the sort of dream card that I'm looking at as of right now: Styles, Nakamura, Roderick Strong, the Viking Raiders versus the Revival versus the Undisputed Era of O'Reilly and Fish, Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus Shayna Baszler, The Fiend versus Brock Lesnar versus Adam Cole, and a 15 traditional tag team 5-on-5-on-5 Survivor Series match. To me, you go back to bragging rights. They just went out there and beat the hell out of each other. Pay-per-view ran one time by WWE was, Oh, man. Breaking Point? Yeah, Breaking Point. Every match was, the only way to win was to tap out, to basically say that you didn't want to go on anymore. To me, honestly, you go with that, you're going to have to call this like Survivor Series triple threat or something like that. It's too many triple threat matches. One on a pay-per-view is all right. It's not my favorite style of match. 2, too many. Remember, like, Survivor Series 1 year? They did The Shield versus CM Punk, and they did the Wyatts versus Daniel Bryan. That was dumb. All right. This is it. Survivor Series 2019. They'll probably find a way to save it. But hopefully, they keep Raw versus SmackDown. Maybe they just spice in 2 NXT matches. Adam Cole has a match. Shayna Baszler has a match. Those 2 titles are on the show. But I don't really want to see a whole show of triple threat matches.